Chat. You want to know something? Sony thinks Concord failing was actually a good thing. They think it's a good thing. That's what they think. I am so curious why they think it's a good thing. I'm very curious. I'm so curious. I just want to know. I'm just like, what?
How do you lose $400 million, shut down a game, a studio, and then follow it all up with another live service controversy and say that these failures are actually a good thing?
Probably was a good
thing.
thing.
No, but it's actually a part of the learning process. You know, I wish I made the kind of money that I could lose $400 million and just be like, well, it's the way she goes sometimes. It's been 1 year
In what
since
planet is losing $4 million a good thing? Tell that to Sony.
Launch of Concord, the fastest failure in AAA history. And on its anniversary, both Sony and Games Media have gotten together to reflect, commiserate, and also lie about why the game failed. So it asks the question, what? Did they learn anything? No. Unsurprisingly, no, they didn't. They're blaming it all on marketing because it was a hero shooter and also because the market is just that tough right now. Completely ignoring
I'm like, the only other hero shooter that came out that year, but it came out later, was Marvel Rivals. But that was a free-to-play title. This game was charging money for you to play. You gotta lose money to make money. That's why the Sony tax is here.
All the criticisms of the players, all the complaints that they had, because they aren't the opinions that they want to hear. Those opinions make them feel uncomfortable. And it's better off just to pretend that that's just a vocal minority. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about the fastest failure in AAA gaming history. I want to talk about Sony's comments on the disaster and the growing divide between the perception of games media, the industry,
I'd be so curious what Sony has to say about this.
If it was a vocal minority, wouldn't have more copies sold? Looking back, I don't think anybody realizes just how absurd and embarrassing of a failure Concord really was. I mean, we're talking about a game that was in development for over 8 years, racked up more than $400 million in costs. And
how did you manage to waste $400 million on making a video game in 8 years? How is this even possible?
A year after launch, Sony was so confident in the game and in the studio that they bought the studio on the spot, a team that nobody had ever heard of and a game that we had never heard of. And
what?
When it finally released, it sold 25,000 copies. That's it. There are indie games that you guys have never even heard of that have sold better than that. The reception of the game was so bad that at one point it was the highest trending discussion on social media while simultaneously dying at retail. I've never seen something that has been so widely discussed yet never bought. Sony pulled the plug just after 12.
I'll still say this, and I'll say this again. If it was a co-op, like a cooperative hero shooter, it probably would have been just fine. It wouldn't be super great. I doubt it'd be like amazing or anything like that. But it'd still be like better than a hero shooter, you know? Because when I first heard the announcement of this, I thought it was like, because like the way how they're doing the cinematic cutscene in this scene, I thought it was like, oh, are we getting like a single player game or something like that? But no, it was a hero shooter, and I was like, ugh. I don't want to play this. This doesn't really interest me.
Days, and then less than a year after them buying Firewalk, they shut the entire studio down. They basically bought a car and they just totaled it after pulling it out of the dealership. And when you make that kind of mistake, when you fail to understand your audience,
that too as well. It was a hero shooter in a free-to-play marketplace, but they were charging you what, $40? Was it $40 or 30? I don't fucking remember, to be honest.
At scale, it demands answers, but Sony's response and the industry's response,
and also at the same time, to be honest with you, these character designs are terrible.
It's been terrible. Just this past June, PlayStation boss Herman Hulse doubled.
No way, they were charging $50 for this? No way, no shot. Was it actually 50? I thought it was like way less than that. Yeah, it was 40. It was 40. Yeah, it was $40. Okay. I was about to say if it was 50, I'd be like, what the hell?
Down on their live service strategy. He said that he doesn't believe that Bungie's upcoming marathon will suffer the same fate despite all of the controversy around its
It's not gonna happen to Marathon, chat. Marathon is gonna be the GOAT of the game for this year. It's not gonna happen to them. They're not gonna shut down within 2 weeks.
closed alpha and its stolen assets. There is no way that that game is living down the name Art Raiders. He also had added saying that we remain very, very committed to building a diverse and resilient live service portfolio. We have
It should have been
Show,
90.
Destiny 2, Helldivers 2.
Man, if it was $90, man, dude, that thing would probably be dead in like less than a week.
Those are good examples of the type of titles we're looking to develop. As for Concord's failure, Hulse blamed market conditions, saying that ultimately that title entered into a hyper-competitive section of the market. I think it was insufficiently differentiated to resonate with players. Ah, yes, the market was too crowded. The game was just not different enough, as if...
No, no, it definitely was. No, there was other problems to this game as well. Why aren't they not addressing the other problems? Why are they saying the market is too saturated for a hero shooter? Like even before that, the only other hero shooter that basically has like the same formula is Overwatch. Overwatch was the other one that has the same formula. That was pretty much it.
No game could possibly survive under such cruel and unfair constraints, right? But of course, the cope does not end there, because following the 1-year anniversary of Concord's failure, Herman Hulst has commented further in an article from Games Radar Plus written by Scott McCree titled "Architect of Sony's Disastrous Live Service Push," says failures are good actually, because now there's more rigorous and more frequent testing. They write, PlayStation boss Herman Hulst said that the live service failures are good for the development of future attempts. One of Sony's first major pushes into the live service space was Concord, and for those of you who managed to miss out on the fiasco, it was pulled offline after 2 weeks of being out, and not long after, Sony killed the studio behind it, meaning that 8 years of development were basically for nothing. Concord was not a bad game. It was a well-made game and relatively bug-free, but very...
No, it was a bad game. It was. It was a really bad game. There was a lot of problems with the game itself. Okay. Future attempts with Bungie.
factors: bad marketing, a paid title in a genre full of free ones.
Well, I know
and
Destiny
a bit
Rising is coming
generic,
out pretty
led it to
soon.
be a disaster that makes the original Cyberpunk 2077 launch look tame. And yet, PlayStation are unfazed with the development of live service titles going forward. Marathon is the next in line, and from the sound of things, it isn't going swimmingly over there either. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Herman Hulst spoke to the Financial Times about Concord's failure and Sony's continued push into live service despite it. Hulst says that the fiasco has led Sony to put in place much more rigorous and more frequent testing, he adds, saying that the advantage of every failure is that now people understand how necessary oversight is. Hulst also added, I don't want teams to play it safe, but I would like us, when we fail, to fail early and cheaply. So let me get this straight. They're calling this a cheap and early failure. 8 years, $400 million lost, 25,000 copies sold that they later ended up having to return because the game was dead in 12 days. The studio gone inside of the same year that you guys purchased it. If that's cheap and early, I would love to know what Sony considers is expensive. Because this was not a quick test. This was a car crash in slow motion, a disaster that everybody saw coming from the initial reveal trailer.
I'll take a look at it then.
How do you guys still manage to plow into that head first? How did it not dawn on you at any point in 8 years just to make this game known to the public? How do you brush off its failure?
I heard that they might have canceled the Last of Us live service game. Not sure though. Wait, they're making a live service for that game? But why? Huh? This is new to me. I don't remember this.
Like it's nothing. I just don't get it, man. Hall says that they're learning from this, but what about the other lessons that don't involve Concord? Since their live service push began, they announced around like 15 different projects. More than half of those games have either failed or been canceled. Concord, Destruction All-Stars...
Foam Stars failed, Destruction All-Stars failed, Concord failed, The Last of Us 2 multiplayer canceled. I remember that. Payback from Bungie canceled, Twisted Metal canceled. Wait, they were gonna wait, they were gonna do a live service freaking Twisted Metal? Oh yeah, there was a rumor for that. Really? Interesting. New IP from Deviation Games canceled. New IP from London Studios canceled. Spider-Man: The Great Web canceled. And then you got Marathon, you got Fair Game, new IP from Ben Studios, Horizon multiplayer, and Horizon. I thought they canceled one of the Horizon projects. I thought one of those was already canceled.
Foam stars all dead or circling the drain. They axed the Last of Us multiplayer, Twisted Metal, Spider-Man: The Great Web, Bungie's Payback, and the God of War live service project, plus 3 other ones that we never even saw.
Wait, God of War live service project? What the fuck? What? Damn, man, Jesus Christ. Sony is definitely milking the shit out of their IPs.
11 games gone. What's left? Fair Games and Bungie's Marathon. Both of those games have the same trajectory as Concord, at least in my eyes. Both of them are either headed for cancellation or market failure. And yet we're supposed to believe that this is all part of some healthy learning process? I guess you could chalk up one of these losses as a lesson learned, a stumble to make the next game better, but Sony isn't learning. At this point, with 11 cancellations and failures, I don't think it's a far-fetched idea to think that these guys have blown over $1 billion on a live service gamble. And sure, Helldivers 2 might be a breakout success, but one win does not erase the wreckage. That's 11 road signs.
Well, the difference is between Sony almost hoed Helldivers 2. Well, they did kind of like screwed Helldivers over, to be honest, with the whole Sony login thing, and then they also hoed them pretty badly, which only being restricted only in a few countries now. I don't think that has been unlifted, so those countries are still restricted from Helldivers. But it definitely has dented Helldivers quite a bit, you know, with forming with Sony, unfortunately. So yeah.
That are telling you to merge back into your lane, and you just keep blowing right past them. But then again, what should I expect from the same guy who...
Oh, they have removed it? Okay, that's good. That's good.
...gaslit himself into believing that Concord was going to be Sony's Star Wars.
Well, even then, like, the gameplay... Well, the gameplay... Well, not even just the gameplay loop, but, like, the core game itself was, like... was designed a lot more funner compared to, you know, Concord, and then the God of War, and then you know, the Twisted Metal, and then whatever other games that they were announced. Even the multiplayer for The Last of Us as well. They weren't made, you know, they weren't made out of passion. They were just made there to make money. That was it. It's just to basically milk their fan base.
This conversation would be entirely different if Sony had a track record here, if they had a catalog of live service hits to be able to point to, but they don't. Outside of Gran Turismo and MLB The Show, 2 of their longest running staples, the only success story they have is Helldivers 2, and even that was a gamble that they never expected to succeed. I mean, I would mention Destiny 2 here, but that game's a disaster now. Everything else has collapsed. How do you not look at that? Double down on what you're good at, premium single-player games, and just admit that this whole experiment was a disaster.
Look, I have no, like I said, I have no problem with live service games, but the problem is they don't do live service games well. That's the problem. They're not in it for the creativeness and the fun passion for it. They're in it to milk everybody for money. That's like the only problem that's going on with it.
I don't think it's controversial to say that Sony's first-party single-player games are some of the best in the industry.
I forgot to turn this back on.
Hit, but the vast majority of them do deliver. And regardless of my own personal opinions on them, the track record speaks for itself. Astrobot stole Game of the Year last year. Spider-Man...
Because you want to know the reason why there's, you know, the best example for like live service games is take a look at Warframe. Warframe has been alive for so long and it's doing very well, you know? So... it's like, what, you know, you can do a good live service game. The problem is like, you know, it's like, what are you in it for? You know, it's like, are you in it for the money, or are you gonna start milking your fan base? You know,
continues to print money. God of War Ragnarok was one of their fastest selling.
Is it 13 years now? Damn, that game has been out for such a long time.
Top sellers in 2022. The Last
Impressive,
of Us continues to make cash every time they remake it. Ghost of Tsushima is widely celebrated, and even Ghost of Yotei, despite all the criticism, has people at least cautiously optimistic. I don't love everything that they put out, but there's no denying that Sony has built their reputation on premium single player.
And it's funny because Ghost of Yotei as well, apparently the Japanese side of Sony or so was not aware that, you know, they thought that Ghost of Tsushima 2 was going to happen, but apparently they even were surprised that Ghost of Yote was announced. So they're like, what? What the fuck?
Their experiences.
It
And
was supposed
that's
to
why
be a
this whole
Ghost of
obsession
Tsushima
with live
2,
service games is so maddening to me, because they have lost staggering amounts
apparently.
of money chasing this model while it isn't working, while redirecting all of their talent and resources from what people actually want, new IP or the return of old IP that fans have been begging for. And that just makes me even more mad, because Sony didn't just stumble into Concord, it saw it
When
in
are we getting a new Jak and Daxter, video game, man? Bring back a Jak and Daxter game.
development. It wrote
Like,
the checks.
remaster
They
it,
bought the studio. They looked at that game and said, this is the future of PlayStation. And cost here isn't just financial. Every single team that is pulled off of a new IP, every dollar that's funneled into this failed portfolio, every opportunity smothered in the name of live service, it all adds up. It's not just the wasted money. It's that they've wasted time, talent, and trust, the trust of their players, all to chase a model that their audience never asked for. How does that make you feel as a customer? The money that you spent, the money that you've invested in their games, in their platform, in their hardware, isn't being used to make better games for you, isn't even being used to make the games that you want. Instead, it's being used.
Well, for me personally, I invested on anime games on the Sony console. That's what I bought. That's why I lean towards Sony, because of the JRPGs and all the anime type games. That's what I played. Like, even on my shelf over here, I just have a bunch of anime games. Do I have a few AAA games? Yeah, I have a few AAA games. Like Call of Duty, Cyberpunk, Last of Us. Trying to remember all these names off the top of my head, to be honest.
Used to make the vision that they want PlayStation to be. I wish that these companies would treat their customers as well as they do their shareholders. If that was the case, PlayStation would look like how we want it to. And I'll be honest with you, I feel like that would be a lot more profitable than what they have been doing. I said this not too long ago in another video, but these companies, they all have a customer base that literally tells them what they want to buy. And with the resources they have, with the talent they have, they could easily deliver on what players are asking for, but they don't. Instead, they go out and they do what you're not asking for, and then they wonder why they fail. We're using this as a lesson learned. Yeah, sure. I totally believe that, coming from the guy that saw Concord in development and said, we need to buy this studio right now, because this is going to be our Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
The entire model was built off of the idea of having these knockoff Guardians of the Galaxy seasonal movies every time a new season comes out for the game. How delusional do you have to be to believe that that could ever find success?
They should have just made a single player game, or like a cooperative 4-player game or something like that, If they wanted to make these, like,
but that's the debate.
Budget,
that's the entire thing
cinematic
Concord.
Scenes and everything.
It's why it failed. And even in this article that I just read and the CEO's comments, whether it's journalist or CEO, the reasons that they give, the failure, how they're chalking it up, just doesn't make any sense. And that is just driving me absolutely insane, because the way the industry explains these problems is nothing like what the players are actually experiencing.
For my live service?
I just can't take it seriously anymore when these companies claim that they're learning from failure, because if you actually listen to what these guys are saying, it never matches up with what players are actually complaining about. Not a single time. Every single time one of these games collapses, it's the same script that keeps getting rolled out. Publishers blame the market or timing or competition. The media nods along like it's gospel. Meanwhile, the rest of us are screaming about real issues, uninspired design, broken priorities.
Is this from the new Destiny DLC? I don't really... Nothing looks very familiar to me. Not even the gun, not even the location on this one.
Character designs that are just not connecting with anybody, and it's like we're not even in the room with these guys. It feels less like an industry that's trying to learn something and more like a monolith that's just rehearsing excuses, a chorus of publishers and journalists singing the exact same tune, while the people who actually buy and play these games are sitting here wondering how many more billions need to be set on fire before somebody listens. In fact, an article from last year proves my case perfectly, because IGN admitted it themselves when they wrote an article titled, "Concord is estimated to have sold 25,000 units. Here's why analysts think it failed." In a section of the article, they write, "Why isn't Concord selling?" Usually when I reach out to analysts for a comment on a piece like this, they largely have similar assessments of the bigger picture, but can offer differing perspectives on certain details. In the case of Concord, everyone I spoke to agreed on the same reasons it had failed. Concord suffered from poor marketing, a high price point, and most critically, a lack of differentiation in an oversaturated genre.
Chat, do you guys think that it's the hero shooter genre is oversaturated during that time? This was before Marvel Rivals, okay? This was like way before Marvel Rivals. Do you guys think that this game failed because it was oversaturated in the hero market shooter genre? I think it was ugly. That's why I didn't even try it. Yeah, that makes sense. None of the characters were appealing. The only one that would that looked somewhat appealing was the Asian girl that throws like the fireball, and that's pretty much about it. Like that's literally the only character on that entire roster to be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I would smash that. But like all the other characters were completely like, just like, dude, this character's just. The art style is definitely what made it suffer. The art style, the character designs. Apparently, the gameplay felt slow and everything. Apparently, that was one of the complaints. I think it's just burnout for the genre. Yeah, but like even then, like for like hero shooters, like let me see. So Concord came out last year, right? Nah, we only had Overwatch. Yeah, only Overwatch as a hero shooter. We need more hero shooter even now. There was too many hero shooters that were lame before Rivals. It was pretty much dead because of burnout. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see. How many? Let me see if I can get the answer for this one. Let me see. At least a dozen of popular hero shooters. So Concord, including Team Fortress. Well, Team Fortress was there for a while. Overwatch has been there for a while. Paladins was there. Paragon, I remember Paragon, but that shut down a while ago. Gigantic also shut down a while ago. Battleborn also shut down as well. Apex Legends, I kind of consider more of that as a battle royale than a hero. Yeah, they do have hero legends, but it's more of a battle royale. Valorant, that's a CS:GO copy, so Star Wars Hunters. I don't really know what that is, question mark? Yeah, Star Wars Hunters. Not really too sure on that one. Marvel Rivals, but that came out later. And then X Defiant, that also came out later as well, so. It was just only 3. There was only like 3 hero shooters. That's it. Team Fortress 2, Overwatch, and Paladins. Paladins is still kicking, right? I assume it's still kicking, question mark. Yeah, but even then, Valorant is still more of a CS:GO clone. Compared to the actual formula of an actual hero shooter, which is like move the payload, move this, move that, you know? You know, that's pretty much it. Toja, we need more? No, we don't. Hey, Voji. Marvel Rivals is literally the same thing as freaking Overwatch, and Overwatch is the same thing from Team Fortress, and Paladins is the same thing from Overwatch. Gigantic was pretty much in that same realm, but they shut down. Battleborn was pretty much something different and unique, but it also shut down as well. But it was also the same formula as these ones up here. Apex Legends is still a hero. It's like, yeah, it has heroes in it, but they don't have the same formula as these other ones. This is literally more of a battle royale game. Valorant is just a CS:GO clone. That's it. So there wasn't really that many in the actual like genre itself. For them literally saying it's oversaturated is probably the most dumbest thing I ever heard in my entire life, to be honest.
First, these guys go on to blame the marketing, saying that Concord suffered from low awareness and purchase intent, and that before the game's launch, only a tiny percentage of players even knew that it existed. Retail promotion was basically just a handful of...
Is Paladins also dying right now? I see.
placements,
I
and
have not been
because
keeping
it
up
was a
with
new IP, they
Paladins,
claimed
so.
that it lacked pre-existing fan bases to bolster its launch. Do I really need to sit here and name literally every single indie banger that's dropped? All of them with no marketing, all of them were new IP, and all of them lacked any pre-existing fan bases? They then moved on to the price, saying that at $40, Concord was too expensive next to free-to-play competitors. They argued that players only shift if all of their friends do, and they even hesitate because they have sunk cost fallacy with cosmetics and perks that they've already bought into in other games.
That's true. It's just like, why are you charging $40 or so in a genre of hero shooters where everything else is free to play? What is it? Team Fortress 2, free to play. Paladins, free to play. Overwatch is free to play, right? Because I remember it used to cost money. That's the reason why. Because I remember Overwatch costing money. So, is it free to play now? Or is it not? But yeah.
They, of course, then go on to talk about how the hero shooter genre was just too oversaturated at the time, saying that since then, we've seen a few more big budget hero shooters come to the market: Apex Legends, Valorant, and Overwatch 2, each of them with
Apex Legends is a battle royale game. Valorant is just a CSGO clone. That's it. That's all it is to it. That's like literally, those are literally the only two. The only reason why I don't count them in there is because Overwatch 2 had that formula as a hero shooter. Marvel Rivals was the same formula as Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 copied freaking Team Fortress 2. And then Paladins copied Overwatch, the original Overwatch. Before Overwatch costed 30 euros or Origin version, nowadays is free to play. Yeah, I remember Overwatch costing money. I played Overwatch 1 for years. When second came out, we played for 1 month and left.
their own unique gameplay attributes that Harding roles. All three of these games are played by millions of gamers every month and dominate this category. Concord's gunplay compares most closely to Overwatch 2, and overall the hero shooter market is already well served with a collection of very strong free-to-play titles. They then finished off by pointing out the timing of the game's release, saying that it doesn't help that Concord released on August 23rd, 2024, just 3 days after Black Myth Wukong.
It failed because we blame Black Myth Wukong because Concord failed. That's the reason why. Jesus Christ. If you search hero shooter games, even Fragpunk shows up. The general principle is the hero abilities. Does it have push the payload and everything like that? I don't remember. I think it's just mostly like a TDM kind of type of thing. That's all it is. It's like team deathmatch. It's like basically fast-paced Valorant is what it kind of like reminds me of the most of that game. It doesn't really give me like, yeah, there's because you can say the same thing for like Call of Duty Black Ops, Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. You can say the same thing for that, but it's not, they have hero elements in it, but I still consider it as an FPS arena shooter game. So yeah, no objective. Okay. No, our Fragpunk is a CS counter, so your argument is invalid. Cause we had CSGO, right? And then we had Valorant copying CSGO, and then you got Fragpunk copying Valorant, and that's pretty much just how, it's just that's how the line goes, So the forefather, which is CSGO 2, it's not a hero shooter. All they did was just literally put the characters have hero abilities and then call it a day. That's it. But it's still the core identity of Valorant and the core identity of Fragpunk is basically coming from one another. But then Valorant originally came from CS:GO 2, or CS:GO or whatever, So even then, it's just still a Counter-Strike clone. That's it.
Though the two games are significantly different, it's hard to deny that the launch of the former overshadowed the latter in terms of marketing, hype, and sales. For what it's worth, Concord's release date was announced 5 months after Black Myth Wukong. For one reason or another, Sony did not opt to nudge the game out of its way. Now,
yeah, but the problem is between Black Myth Wukong is a single-player game that has Souls-like elements. It was actually made by a new studio, and it was more of a single player game that was really well made with great graphics, to be honest. And then you have Concord, which is a hero shooter game, and they're charging you $40 for this hero shooter game in a market that literally is free to play, and the graphics are not that great besides the cinematic cutscenes. The character designs were awful as well. The gameplay was also terrible. Was not, well, I wouldn't say terrible. It's just, it wasn't really that great. So it was kind of a little bit of mid. It was just mid. That's it.
Now, one thing I want to point
Hey,
out
Gabe.
before I move on from this, they linked Black Myth Wukong on this, and of course it links to their article about the claims of sexism.
You just can't make this shit up sometimes, huh? Okay.
Now, the only thing that I'll give these guys is the pricing. Charging $40 in a genre that's built on free-to-play is one of the dumbest decisions
Hey,
that you can make. But
congrats!
the idea that more marketing would have saved Concord, what are you guys saying? And the excuse that the hero shooter space is already well served, please. Marvel Rivals came out right after Concord a few months later, and it peaked at almost 650,000 concurrent players on Steam.
Yeah, but the problem is like the art style is great. Everybody knows about the Marvel IP, but then at the same time, they made the girls hot. The girls are hot. They're all smashable. Like every single girl in there is literally smashable. Like any of my male audiences here in like literally on my stream would say, yeah, I would smash her, smash her, smash her, you know? It's like even the women who play this game too would love to get smashed by Venom, you know? That's about it.
It hit 40 million total players in 2 months, and even after all the initial hype died down, well, it's still...
To be fair, the Marvel IP carried the... But yeah, the devs know what sells. Yeah, like that's what I just said. I just said like it's like the Marvel IP that everybody knows. Every girl wants that 19-inch of Venom. Yeah, it's like I've like most of the girls that I've talked to love Venom. You know, they all love fucking Venom. You know, so it's just like that's what they like, or they like Doctor Strange. I think the most recent one they like Mr. What's his name? Mr. Fantastic or whatnot.
Averages over 100,000 players per day. Clearly, the genre was never the problem. Universally, players were saying the exact same thing. It might have contributed, but it was never the core reason. Even if Concord would have been free to play, it wouldn't have mattered. The only difference that would have made is the people dunking on it, including myself, would have had more gameplay footage to be able to use. But no amount of trailers, media push, no billboard campaign is going to make anyone buy something that they don't want. No marketing would have done anything. The only thing
it doesn't matter.
is just burn more money. And then there's the wildest excuse of all that Black Myth Wukong overshadowed Concord. Sure, Wukong dominated hype and sales, but maybe the question should be instead, why did it have all that hype to begin with? Maybe it's because it was a fresh IP, a high-quality game, and it actually looked cool. That's the biggest reason why that game actually moved. Maybe it's because it was actually directly aimed at the people who play dark action RPGs.
Or just gamers. Just literally just gamers in general, you know? If I remember correctly, that had like, what, 2 million players, right? It had like 2 million players, right? Let's go take a look real quick. Let's take a look. Black Myth Wukong. Yeah, it had 2.4 million players playing this game. And there's still people playing this game, even to this day. That's the craziest thing about it. You got people playing this game. But it had like 2.4 million, though. Builds poop, confused why people don't buy poop. Clear problem are the buyers aren't wanting to the right thing. It's so stupid that they're literally blaming Black Myth Wukong for their failure. Like, honestly, it's the craziest thing to say that, to be honest. Oh, you know, it's because it was 3 days before Black Myth Wukong. You know, that's why the game failed. The market was super saturated. That's why it failed. The sad part is I kind of liked the cinematic for Concord when it was teased because they used all the best character designs. I feel like I've said this before. It just should have been a 4-player co-op hero shooter game instead of just a multiplayer hero shooter game. I think it would have done okay, if it was a single player, 4-player co-op game, drop in, drop out kind of co-op game, instead of a PvP hero shooter game that has, that the controls were kind of like, well, the gameplay was like slow apparently. That was a lot of people that were complaining about that the gameplay was slow. It didn't feel really great to play on, so.
And that's the part this industry just does not seem willing to admit, that gaming overall might be split 50-50 between men and women, but once you break it down by genre, those numbers start to skew. Dark action RPGs like Black Myth Wukong, that's overwhelmingly male. Competitive shooters, overwhelmingly male. Concord's biggest problem wasn't the competition or the timing or the marketing, it was just that it didn't speak to its core demographic. It didn't cater to the people who actually play these games. You know, last year, Paul Tossi wrote an article titled The Woke War and Why the Right Believes It's Dominating Gaming and TV in 2024, where he had lined up
Nah, Battle Royale is better. No,
it's
it's not. Battle Royale is not a good genre. That genre is kind of slowly killing itself. That reminds me of that Andromeda game that had really bad facial expressions and blamed Zelda Breath of the Wild taking its player. What? Are you serious? They were blaming. Oh, dude, that's so dumb. It's so dumb that they blame other video games for their failures, even though they didn't see what the problem of their games was. That's crazy that they were blaming Breath of the Wild. I'm like, Zelda is its own fan base, and also Nintendo people are their own fan base. The reason why Mass Effect failed is because, there were so many problems with Mass Effect in general, at least Andromeda anyway, so.
Culture war and applied the same tried and true industry excuses that we've heard 100 times. When it came to Concord, he said the wrong perception was that it failed because its heroes were not attractive enough, or because the game was virtue signaling with pronouns in the character select screen.
Well, the problem is, it's like, number one, who the fuck names the robot with pronouns? Let's be honest here. It would have been better if they named the robot with Clanker or something. They should have put the pronoun as Clanker. We Mass Effect fans don't talk about Andromeda.
I hate to break it to you, man, but that's exactly why this game failed.
Yeah, of course that's why it's failed. Because you want to know something? Asmongold is correct. If nobody wants to cosplay any of your characters in the video game, you failed automatically. That means your characters are not fun or attractive to cosplay, so nobody wants to do it. So it's just like, if I make a video game and I want to cosplay the character in my own video game, that means you've done something well. But if nobody wants to cosplay the characters in the video game, that means you failed.
Failed as well. Sure, some of these criticisms are going to be hyperbolic, but at its core, players did not connect with the aesthetics, the tone, or the designs. Politics have nothing to do with it. The only reason that you don't want to hear that is because it's coming from people that you see as your political opposition, but that doesn't make it any less true. The fact of the matter is, these games keep leaning into themes and aesthetics that players do not care about. And yes, it is virtue signaling when you're elevating things that are not social norms above the quality of the experience and who that experience is supposed to be.
No, I won't.
I mean, maybe I'm seeing this from the wrong perspective, but I think it's as simple as people do not care about these things that these developers are shoving into their games. It's not for them and they don't want it. You can try to gaslight them and say, well, if you don't care and it's not for you, then why does it matter? Well, it does matter because they're buying it. It's like that supposedly controversial clip of Snoop Dogg. He did not sign up to teach his little kid grandson about gender identity. He came to watch a movie cartoon about toys.
Oh yeah, I remember this clip. I saw this actually, so.
And instead of just listening or acknowledging that, journalists are ignoring it, developers are digging trenches, and suddenly there are political battle lines all over the video games industry. And I just don't even see this as a political issue. I just see it as a taste issue. And, case in point, one of the Concord developers responded online to criticism about the game, saying that, I don't really care. It was a huge labor from a lot of insanely talented people making an awesome game. Why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? Well, here's the reason you should care.
That's crazy that you're saying that, because you want to know something? Some of those audiences could actually be other artists, developers, musicians, maybe animators. You don't know what they are. You don't know what they do. But instead you decided to call everybody talentless freaks. That completely ruined your, That completely ruins your game in general. I don't care. Biggest signs that he cared. Yeah, that's true. But like, for you to actually say that to like random people on the internet, it's like you don't know them. You don't know what they do. Maybe some of them do actually do stuff that in the entertainment industry, and you saying that specifically, it just paints you as a bad person. And why would anyone want to hire you when they can just literally remember you from that tweet? To be like, oh yeah, it's that one person who likes to call other people talentless freaks because they didn't like their ideology of their video game, you know?
Because those talentless freaks are the ones that are buying your games. They are the ones that keep you employed. When you dismiss them, don't act surprised when your game tanks in less than 2 weeks and you don't have a job. I mean, this is comical at this point because on one hand, you have developers that are calling players talentless freaks, you have journalists that are ignoring the elephant in the room, and on the other hand, you have these same people that are begging you for sympathy. I'm reminded just a few months back after the disaster around Marathon's closed alpha, one of Concord's developers took to Reddit to post this long post telling players that they need to be empathetic, that we need to give more grace to developers that are making mistakes. And it's a line that we have heard 1,000 times by
Bruh.
now. They said that Concord failed
Imagine
to
having your game put in a museum of the ultimate failures and you call everyone else a failure. Oh yeah, that's true actually. You called everyone else talentless freaks, but yet you're the talentless one because your game failed. And you decided to open your mouth and talk to people on Twitter, which number one, you should have just kept your mouth shut. That's number one. Okay? Like, honestly, if I was that person, I probably would not respond or even bother responding at the end of the day, you know?
Resonate with players, and it was a gut-wrenching experience for them, and that players need to go easy on the Marathon team. And the crazy thing is, the only thing that I never hear is an honest acknowledgement of player criticism. Not a single time, not in good faith, never the quiet part
Yeah,
out loud.
just telling
Maybe
your
the problem
audiences,
isn't
you
the
know,
market or the competition or the timing. Maybe the
just telling them that like, they're a piece of shit and everything like that is probably not the best idea for you to actually say that, in my personal opinion.
problem with games is themselves. These failures are not mysteries. They're not accidents of timing. They are not lessons in disguise. They are the result of the industry refusing to listen, hiding behind
Oh yeah,
excuses.
chat. Can you guys tell me, is the volume okay for the video? Because I apparently one of the Bellular news videos was not well optimized for audio apparently, which was kind of a bit weird. But you know, I got to make sure that the audio is a-okay because apparently I was having issues. Most of the games today won't get attention if the devs just shut their yapping holes. Yeah, I wonder if Borderlands 4 will be good. Well, that's a good question, to be honest. Sounds fine to me. Okay. Yeah, because I was because I had a couple of comments or so on the Bellular news video. You know. It can be louder, but it's fine. Like 5%. I'll probably bring it up to maybe. Probably like right there, maybe.
Excuses about markets and competition while ignoring
Is that fine?
the players that are actually keeping this industry alive. Concord was not some anomaly. It was the clearest possible warning, and yet instead of just changing course, the whole lot of them are still marching down the exact same path, convinced that the problem is anything but themselves, which means that the next collapse is not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. I legit think that the only developers that I know that have talked about these things either in good faith or honestly or just up front have been like Lords of the Fallen CEO and a handful of Eastern developers, and that's it.
Really? Lords of the Fallen?
I don't understand why it's become so taboo just to have the honest discussion of, hey, with certain target audiences, with certain genres and certain games, this stuff isn't working. It's not resonating with them. They're not interested in it. And by forcing it, we're just going to lose more and more money. We're going to lose those customers, and we're just going to continue to piss them off. Maybe these guys just like hot characters. Isn't that crazy? I think regardless
well,
of
at the end of the day, most of the audiences when it comes to gamers are guys. So, you know, you want to cater towards guys. If you wanted to cater to even girls, there's some girls who like hot women too as well. So if you're trying to cater to women as well, you know, just make hot men and hot women, and you pretty much have a gold mine. It's pretty fucking simple. Like I don't know. Like, if I'm gonna make a video game, right, in the future when I get my own game studio or so, I'm like, I'm gonna carefully craft my characters to make sure they're attractive, you know?
Or female, people do like attractive characters. That doesn't mean they need to be in every single game.
Yeah, of
but,
course.
I mean, look at Marvel Rivals. Regardless of how that game is done up until this point, obviously it's lost some people ever since it came out. I think that happens with a lot of these games, to be honest. There's
true.
some edge cases that hold on to a lot of their players, but I mean, some of these absurd numbers, we can't expect these games to hold on to 600,000 concurrent players.
Yeah, of course.
No, it's just not going to happen. But you still see a lot of fan art. You still see people cosplaying the characters all the time, even still today. And
you still see some Rule 34 stuff about Marvel Rivals even to this day. So even to this day, we still have Rule 34 shit for them.
I think you just need to not be in the middle. You can also lean to the other side, make characters look weird and ugly. Look at Oddworld, Munch's Odyssey. Look at Earthworm Jim. What happened to those games? Look at Roadhog or Junkrat or characters like that. People like stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either.
I think it's when these developers try to do these relatable character designs where they're trying to bend themselves to be able to... it's virtue signaling. I'm just going to call it out for what it is. It's exactly what it is. But people don't want that. They're just not interested in it. We know what average looks like. We look at it in the mirror every single day.
We look at each other or so every single day.
I don't need to see that in a video game. I want to see something weird. I want to see something cool. I want to see something inspiring.
That's true.
And by not admitting that to yourself, you're going to put yourself in a world of pain. And that's what a lot of these companies have done. You know, the industry has to wake up to this.
Yeah, there's no problem with having weird design characters too as well. As long as like the art style fits it, you know? Because I think, you know, Psychonauts has a really good art style at the end of the day.
They have to just talk about the elephant in the room and be open and honest about it. Otherwise, it's just going to sink more and more of these games. And I think that's the reason why, in a lot of cases, I try not to be too pessimistic when it comes to some of these games and these companies. But it's really hard to, because they just refuse to approach it because it makes them so uncomfortable. I think on one hand, they're afraid of PR, but on the other hand, these guys do believe in a lot of this stuff. And I hate to tell you, when you're selling a product, it doesn't matter how you feel. Unless you're okay with not selling it to a lot of people, but then you need to prepare for that. I sure as the hell wouldn't be spending $400 million to make something and then be surprised when you lose money on it.
Hey man, you can probably, hey Sony, if you want to lose $400 million, just invest in me. Trust me, man, you'll get your money back in return in the next 20 years.
It makes them uncomfortable. Well, that's too bad because we're the ones with the money. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did...
Oh yeah, that's true. He is sitting on the computer, actually. I didn't even notice that, actually. But I think that's probably his second computer because it's not turned on. So that might be maybe his streaming computer, maybe.
Enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel.
That's a good video.
Share the video with your friends. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. And catch me live on Fridays. Thank you guys for watching. Stay cool.
That's crazy though, to be honest. That's kind of odd, or so that Sony is like, yeah, we spending $400 million wasn't a bad thing. It was good that it failed. It was good. Honestly, that's pretty a crazy response to say that. To be honest, like, yeah, I mean, you just kind of learn from it. And you just kind of push forward. That PC has a filter. Oh, it does have a filter. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that makes it a little bit easier, to be honest. I thought there was a cat in the computer for a second, and then realized it was just his reflection. Oh. Gears of War has weird character designs too. Yeah, of course. But the aesthetic of the game itself is more like what? It's a what is starting like the apocalyptic war or so against that specific faction versus the human race. That's what basically kind of is in general. So the fact Sony didn't learn from Concord and let Marathon go on it like it did. Apparently Sony has kind of basically given up on Marathon. So there's that in general. We heard that. We were hearing that one I think like a couple weeks ago or so. So I wouldn't be surprised if, because like right now there hasn't really been any advertisement for Marathon, and I could be wrong or so. Quote me if I'm wrong or so. I think they said that they were delaying Marathon ? did I mishear that? To be honest, I don't remember, to be honest. So, copium is a hell of a drug. Copium definitely is one hell of a drug. They coping really hard to think that, like, oh, the failure was, it's fine, it's fine. It's just only $400 million down the shitter, but but who's counting though? Gears of War is a humans versus alien game. Okay, yeah, so it's just as figured as much. But yeah, anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. Yeah, very interesting, to be honest, to be hearing that Sony while saying that. Also, for those who didn't know, on my YouTube side of things, we do have memberships open as well. So if you do want to support me, you can support me if you want to. And then I'll try to see if I can save up some moolah or so for to get a second computer, and then I can, we can multi-stream on Twitch and YouTube and have both of you guys here. I'll have Twitch underneath right here, and I'll have YouTube comments over there on the other side too as well. Who knows? Maybe we'll do Kick one of these days, They did delay a Marathon. The new CEO got some heavy pressure on him for sure. Oh, okay. So Marathon is actually delayed. Got it. Okay, we did get that. And then the new CEO is probably on a seat that's on fire at the moment because the shit that's been happening. So, but yeah. Anyways, for those on the YouTube side, if you guys want to become a YouTube voidling, you can. We do have badges, and then we do have some emotes as well that we put in there. And apparently the more people that become a member or so, we can get more emotes. Apparently that's how it works. But yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video, and peace. Remember, frogs, you'll forever be frogs unless you join the Twitch side. Jesus Christ.